Hey, it's Robert Clickybeard, the host of the Commercial Landscaper podcast. These podcasts challenge you to grow as a leader, to stretch yourself beyond your comfort zone, and to 10x your company. I really encourage you to enjoy the show, share it with teammates, fellow business owners, and subscribe. That helps us grow our community. Hi, this is Robert Clickybeard with the Commercial Landscaper podcast. Really excited today to be joined by Dustin Walker. Dustin, thanks for joining us on the call today.
Yeah, thanks, Robert. I appreciate you having me on board.
Just to kick things off, Dustin, I'd love to just, the audience to hear a little bit about your background and how you're part of the company you're going to be talking about.
Yeah, so my background's a little unique compared to typical stories in the landscaping ownership industry. It's nothing to do with landscaping. So I'm born and raised in Brisbane, Australia. I left my country when I was 19 to play college baseball over in America and had a great journey there. Unfortunately, my grades were no good. And so I got redshirted for poor grades in my second year. And then I kind of shifted gears and went and got a degree in photography at a fine art school in Santa Barbara. And so from there, when I graduated, I moved to LA and I started a media agency and at the highest point, I think we had about 15 freelancers working under our banner. And we were servicing companies like Home Depot, Airbnb, and we were doing a bunch of branding for them. Had a really fun time. In 2020, COVID hit and marketing pretty much shut down for a lot of those big companies. They put a hold on it. And so my business kind of fizzled out for about a year there. And my wife and I decided to follow her sister who moved to St. Louis. And so that's when we made the move across the country. I ended up selling that business off to all the freelancers. They took every client from me and paid a certain fee. We kind of negotiated that. And so I dissolved that through all of them. Super fun. Then I got into St. Louis. Intermittently, I was working in the corporate world. It's kind of a weird story because I was my business was running pretty smoothly. So I was like, I really want some leadership education. And I wasn't getting that on my own. So I went into the corporate world, worked for interior design companies, worked for Fortune 500 commercial real estate companies, and kind of moved up the ranks there. And that's when I kind of stopped and was like, eventually, you know what, I want to do my own thing again. So I found Landscape St. Louis.
What made you choose landscaping, or did it fall in your lap? Or, because I know there's a lot of people buying businesses right now, from private equity to private wealth companies to people wanting to move away from their W-2, but, they're looking at different types of trade businesses.
Yep.
But landscaping is obviously unique.
It is. And it takes a very specific person to want to do it. That's a great question. So when I went on the hunt and went through like brokerages and looked at business listings and I was really ambiguously looking for a business. I really had no direction. I was just curious what was out there at first. As my search started, it took about a year during this process. But as I continued looking at businesses, I was finding there was a lot of businesses that made a lot of good money and were exciting cash cows of sort that I could go into. But I kept going back to, why am I doing this? Why do I want to do something on my own? What is the purpose? What is the goal for me as an individual, as someone who wants something out of this? And so it really came back to the idea, I want to be proud of something I can build, something I can go home at the end of the day and say, man, I'm really proud of the work that we did today. And so as a kid growing up, my dad and I really built his entire yard, my childhood home. And we did it every weekend. It was like clockwork. And it was something I always have this really fond, nostalgic memory to. And so as I started looking at landscape companies, I kind of started focusing in there. And then I started getting my requirements a little thinner as I went in. I was like, I just don't want lawn care. I want something a little more intentional. So design build was really the focus at a certain point. And then I found Landscape St. Louis.
Now, when you first start to look at landscaping, I think, I come across a lot of people who say, oh yeah, I want to get into landscaping. But then as soon as they dive in a little bit deeper, I don't think they quite realize all the different even within landscaping,
right.
From commercial maintenance to construction to design build to residential maintenance. It's quite a wide range here. Is there something specifically that attracted you to the design build piece?
Yeah, and specifically residential design build.
Residential, yeah.
Yeah, and why I say residential is because I noticed a lot of the times it's the value you're giving to a homeowner versus a commercial entity. And so the homeowner, it's impacting them every single day, how they live, how they enjoy their space. And you can see that there's this real big pride in that. And I think probably I had that because we were doing my own yard growing up. So I know what that felt like is when that result came, and then the uses. So design build residential, it just always made most sense because I felt like that's where I could add the most value to someone's life.
I love that. And yeah, it's a great business, a lot of eyes on it right now. And, effectively, once you'd nailed down your deal box, how then did you go about trying to find that perfect design, build residential company?
Well, I didn't want something too far along that I couldn't add a ton of value on the beginning. And so I was really looking at a criteria of foundational greatness. It came down to a few factors. Like I was kind of looking for a company to be somewhat dated in systems and technology and operations so that I could make some pretty quick wins to this business. And the thing about Landscape St. Louis that really attracted me was the tenure of the current staff. I mean, there was 6 crew members at this time, and between the 6 of them, there was 110 years of experience at this company.
Oh, okay. That's a
And that
lot.
was itself a lot. And so there was something special in that. That's so unique in this industry to have that much tenure on the crew side of operations. And so there was just something there at play. And I was like, man, there's something special here. I'm going to investigate it a little further because I talked with other companies and it seemed like more of a churn and burn. And that's okay. That's great. But this one was really intentionally focused on building a community, a culture, a family of sort for their people they employ. And that meant something to me because that's kind of my goals.
Did you find the business online, or was it through
Yeah.
networking, or you find it online?
Yeah, found it online, found it on a brokerage site, and I reached out. And I'll be honest, the previous owner had no interest in meeting me at first because he's like, who's this kid with no industry experience? And arguably, I might have done the same thing after 20 years plus in this business. But his wife told him to give me a go, and we had a first meeting, and man, we just hit it off.
I also belong to another community called Contrarian Thinking, and it's run by a lady called Cody Sanchez. And, there's probably, certainly well over 1,000 people within that community. And there's a good portion of people that look at a business, whether it be landscaping or other trade, but, a lot of the time they don't have that experience. So
Yep.
either it puts people off getting into that trade or even looking at business, or another, I suppose, barrier is sometimes the banks and SBA will reject people because they don't have that knowledge. Or the third piece as well is the whole getting into business and distance and all these other barriers. And sometimes, especially in landscaping, there could be a tremendous amount of interest. I've heard of some situations where one listing came up and there was like 100, 150 people going after that business. So it's a little
Yikes.
bit of almost like a little bit of a frenzy there. And if you don't stand out, you could easily be missed. So obviously you must have done something just to sort of gain that attraction.
You mean with the previous owner?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, there were a lot of businesses looking to acquire this company. And I think that was the biggest problem for him is he didn't want to be dissolved into another company. He wanted his legacy to be upheld and to be pushed forward to the next generation. Originally, he wanted his kids to take over. They weren't interested. That kind of happens. And that's, sad for for the dad, but that's part of it. I think what I was trying to demonstrate with him a lot of the time is just like, look, I'm intentional with what I'm saying. I've got integrity, and what I'm just trying to do is continue your legacy. And I realize that's massive shoes to fill. The line I say to a bit of everyone in this industry, especially my clients, is just give me a go. Trust my actions, not my words. And so as we started going through, it was first a letter of intent, then we got into the actual deal and the structure of the due diligence. And I think as we continued along, he was gaining that confidence inside me. But I think he was testing me for quite a while.
It makes sense. I mean, I'd probably do the same thing.
Yeah, of course.
Now, again, talking a good game and actually putting some, traction there. Big hurdles, again, could be the financing piece, trying to get either SBA pre-funding or some other confidence that you'll continue that legacy piece. That can be tough because especially if you're not able to meet some of the other employees within the company, obviously because of confidentiality, that could be pretty challenging. So maybe just talk through some of those early wins to be able to start to build that trust with the seller.
Yeah, so I think I kind of talked to him a lot about how I manage people, how I look after the people I've employed in the past, and what I've done in terms of the corporate world of how I manage my teams. I was really fortunate in some of those worlds. I was managing a staff of like 400 people. So I had a lot of opportunity to really understand what is my philosophy as a leader. And so trying to give him that explanation of who I am. But I think on the same foot, he'd been trying to sell for 4 years and hadn't found the right buyer. So
Okay,
I
okay.
think when he found me, I think he was pretty gun ho wanting it to work because I wasn't just some company to dissolve it, like I said. So I think there was also that his hopefulness that this is going to work. The truth is, all I could do was show up and show him that I was dedicated. We set weekly recurring meetings that we would have to go over what step of the process we're at and how can we keep pushing the needle forward to get this deal closed. And it kind of turned into me running the show for that whole thing. We drafted up all the paperwork. I created schedules for us. I created all the spreadsheets that we were managing all the time. So I think it showed him a bit of professionality to myself as well. Not only, hey, I'm interested, but hey, I'm pretty dedicated to this stuff and I don't mess around. Like if I'm going to do something, I'm all in or I'm all out. So this one, I'm all in.
You don't necessarily have to go into the exact details, but how did you overcome maybe some of the finance options? Because SBA will sometimes, I think they've tightened up the rules recently, but
Yeah.
did you involve SBA? Was there some other funding sources?
No, so SBA wouldn't take me because of my income.
Mm.
So I was like, "Oh, that's great." I am really fortunate. I have a dad who is a finance genius, and he guided me from 18 years old on how to invest. And so
Mm.
I'd been investing since I was 18. I had acquired enough funds to be able to purchase the business in half the price through cash from selling some stocks on the market. And then the other half, what was also a contingency for me was property had to be part of the deal in the acquisition. I had to look for a place that had property as owner so I could buy that because that's a tangible asset that I can fall back on as far as mitigating my risk. And so the property was valued at a really good price. It got appraised for a really good price. Actually got priced much higher than the selling price. And so I knew, and I kind of figured that because when I looked at the property, I'm like, man, what a win. And so then we just leveraged the property for the rest of the loan.
Is there any type of seller financing piece, or was it all just through what you brought to the table now?
Yep.
Another piece of this is
And Robert, I think that's also what attracted the owner is I was just coming in and it was basically, hey, don't worry about it. I've got the financing. We're going to get it taken care of.
Yep, I've seen many deals blow up because people come and say, "Hey, I'll finance it," but then when it actually comes down to either getting the SB financing or some other options, it typically falls through.
And I think that the other thing, Robert, if I may, a lot of people are trying to nickel and dime those little margins, those little things in the deal. I gave him what he wanted. And I did it very specifically and intentionally because it was a good deal. It was a reasonable ask. The goodwill was not appraised super high in the deal. Equipment was valued appropriately. And in any case, I knew whether I could scale this to. So my investment, it didn't matter if I took $50,000, $100,000 off the cost. I still had backed myself that I was going to value this business much higher as I grew it. So the acquisition money didn't bother me. It was like, it's a fair deal. Here's your money. This is what you want. Let's not BS each other. Let's just make it simple.
No,
I think
like that.
I like that term, KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great term.
Yeah.
How did you go about valuing the business? Did you use a proper evaluation company? Did you find out what some of the multiples were on EBITDA through just market research? What were some of the things you came to that value?
So I think because it was a year journey to find this one, I looked at maybe 1,000 businesses in that year. And my first 500, I had no idea what I was looking at when they were giving me the balance sheets, the P&Ls. I'm like, this is all kind of very ambiguous, but I think repetition and curiosity is kind of what really helps you. And then, of course, having people on your corner. People try and stronghold things too much and not seek advice or help from elsewhere. Man, I just asked around and said, hey, here's something I'm confused with. Do you know anything about that? And I asked people I trust in multiple industries. And my previous employer was a private owner of an automotive company that had grown pretty large scale. So I was talking to him a lot. I was very transparent with him. This is my plan. This is what I'm going to do. I'll give you 60 days before I leave. So you got plenty of transition. And so he was really helpful during that. But then again, my dad, he was also extremely knowledgeable. I think that's your best friend.
I love that term. Be curious, just ask questions, and especially with our industry, there is a lot of people who are more than willing to share their knowledge and experience.
Well, that's been the surprise. I didn't know I was going to get gifted here. This industry just shares, and they're so willing. There's no trade secrets. It's like, let me uplift you to kind of uplift the entire industry. I've never seen it. That's something really, really special about the green industry.
Let's take a minute to thank our sponsors. Urcher is a life brand born from grit, founded by Zach Strausser. The mission is clear: to raise $1 million for the trades by supporting vocational training across North America. Archer makes tough, smart gear built for landscaping and snow professionals who work hard outside every day in all conditions. Their apparel puts safety first, helps crews look sharp, and honors the pride in their craft. Every purchase has purpose, fueling training programs and building a resilient workforce. Archer isn't just workwear, it's a culture of respect, resilience, and results. When you contact Archer, mention Wilson 360 and Zach and his team will take well care of you. Well, sorry, one other thing. During your due diligence period, anything that sort of popped up that you weren't expecting, or maybe looking back, anything that you might have done some slightly differently? And I'm partly saying that because, again, there might be people listening to this that said, hey, typical my growth has been through sales team. I've never really considered, some type of acquisition. But what would be maybe your best advice based on what you experienced?
Trust but verify. I think that was a bit of my downfall in the due diligence. Was I like to really understand people, and I think I've got a pretty good judge of character. And unfortunately, during this, I misread a little bit of it. I wish I verified or dug deeper in some of those conversations because as I got into the business, I realized, oh, that wasn't really what was stated. Or because you said it earlier, it was a very privatized deal. And so I wasn't given access to the employees. I wasn't given access to the property until weekends. And even then, it was a bit secretive. And I would come to the property at like 7 p.m. at night once everyone had left. But I got like little guidebooks on the employees, and there was just things not included. So it's one of those tough scenarios where you do have to trust, but if there's a way to verify or ask more leading questions to get more information as you go through this, and just be certain. And I'm not saying I regret the decision. It was awesome. I'm so happy where I'm at. Don't regret any of it, but there were things that I just wish I challenged the previous ownership on a little further instead of just saying, yep, I'll take your word.
So fast forward, due diligence, you're closing the deal, walk through the door day one, probably a shock to everybody, and people are saying, hey, who is this Dustin guy? He's no experience. How did you handle, because I always say that first 30, 60, 90 days is probably the most important piece of taking over a business. So talk us through that.
Yeah, so I was sweating bullets walking into those doors the first day, especially because the previous owner told them all the night before. It was just kind of like shock and awe, rip off a Band-Aid. So they weren't fully processed yet, and I knew that. And they're now coming in thinking, am I losing my job? They've got all their own personal fears, right? They're not thinking about me in too much. They're thinking about what's the impact on me for themselves. And so really what I went in with was humility. I didn't want to come in and say, I'm just going to steamroll this place. I'm going to do this. Here's my goals. Here's my objectives. That wasn't important in the beginning. What was important is knowing that starting the establishment of trust, and that I'm here to learn from them, and I'm why I wanted this business. And a lot of it was because of the existing staff. And so really trying to get that I remember my first speech was just really about what attracted me to the business. And so spoke a lot about that. I owned the process that I do not have industry experience. I wasn't trying to shy away from that. I leaned into it. And in fact, I was kind of like, that's why I need your help. So I leaned on them saying, I'm hoping you can support me, giving them some real kind of leadership style inside of them to say, oh, cool. Well, I do know this business. Maybe I can help, and not shy away from it, letting them know of an open door policy. So that was day one, went off pretty good. I think they all went in one ear, went out the other. So I realized I worried about that first meeting so much that it probably didn't matter too much. What mattered was the days that followed as I started having individual conversations, and all of them kind of picking apart. And again, what I love about this industry is people, there's no fluff. It's just, I'm going to ask you very directly the answers I want from you.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, I appreciated that because I don't want the fluff. I just want to get to it. So I kept leaning on that saying I said earlier, which was just give me a go and don't trust my words, trust my actions. Just watch and just be the judgment on what I do, not what I say. So it was really important those first 30, 60, 90 days. All I was doing is looking for ways that I could support the team in place and how I can learn from them and how I can help provide a better experience for them. And so there were a few things like I looked for easy wins, especially being an outsider, my first 3 weeks, it was snow on the ground and we don't do snow. So my crew was unemployed for 3 weeks, not getting paid. And as an outsider, I'm like, man, that sucks. That's a rough situation for them. So I provided some snow PTO into their bucket of PTO that year and said, let me help you out a little bit. It's a small drop in the bucket for me, but it's a big drop in the bucket for the trust in me. Little things like that I kept trying to do to add a little more, I'm here for you guys, not just for a money win. And so that's really the focus, really the first 6 months was team. And then also not being above any of it. I spent most of the time in the field working alongside them, 16-hour days because I'm working in the field, then working back in the office trying to get my stuff done. Right. It's willing to sacrifice that time, especially I got a family at home. That was a tough 6 months for all of us.
Sure.
But it was important to me showing them I'm not above any of it. And part of that learning from them was I want to learn how you do your job, and I want you to uplift me. I thought I was pretty skilled in landscaping as an enthusiast. Man, I sucked apparently. I was doing things wrong.
Yeah, you quickly learn.
You will quickly learn. And they were just such an impressive group of individuals. And I have a simple philosophy with giving people accolades and things like that. So I call it an emotional piggy bank of deposits and withdrawals. And as a leader, you have to withdraw from people. And so that's something negative, right? That's like critical feedback. That's things like this. But a deposit is something, an approval, something you're proud of, something you're thankful for. And a deposit weighs much less than a withdrawal. So I'm always looking for opportunities. How many deposits have I given you? Because I got to make a withdrawal and I got to make sure those deposits equal out that withdrawal. And so I'm constantly looking for ways to get small wins like that.
I would use that same term when I had my landscape company in terms of clients. We are going to screw up at some point. So what are the deposits that we can make before that happens? Whether it be, some freebie irrigation repairs or some other proactive communication or something, but you're always looking to go give those deposits. So I love that term. In terms of looking back in that first 30, 60, 90 days, hopefully that went well, but anything looking back you would have done a little bit differently?
I think everything I did impacted the way I needed it to impact and established what we're doing right now. If I made any alternate decisions, we wouldn't be where we were today. And I'm really proud of where we are today. I have no regrets. I don't think I would do anything differently. I think I'd make all the same decisions over and over, even the bad ones, because sometimes the worst ones you learn the most from, and sometimes you just need to learn it the hard way.
So when did you close and where are you at these days in terms of either revenue or number of employees or just overall growth?
So we closed January 31st, 2025. So almost a full year cycle now. At that point of the business, they were making 1.5 million in revenue pretty consistently year over year. The close of December this year, so 11 months in the business, we did just shy of 2 million in revenue. And we also increased our net profit 66% from their net profit. And we did that a few different ways. We started choosing the jobs more wisely. We put some labor efficiency tactics in there. We brought in more training so that we can have some of the entire crew be cross-trained in all departments because we were small and nimble. And I think there was 10 people at the time. We're now at 14. What we've done this year moving forward is we've hired some pretty critical leadership roles that are going to help maintain our quality. Because I think the biggest fear I had was we're a premier high-end landscaping company, but we're really small. So how do you scale that and keep that level of quality and keep, someone said it to me really brilliantly. It was a saying, big enough to serve you, small enough to know you. And that's kind of our goal we're going for, but we have to keep that scalability in terms of the quality. So I brought in a very skilled account manager who's a horticulturalist and an certified arborist. He's just brilliant. And not only at his job, but at giving people advice and training. And so that's the piece on the maintenance side of operations. And then as far as like the design build, I had a really good design build lead who's just tackling that. And then I brought someone really tactical in operations. And so they're just crushing operations for me right now and just dialing in our accounting, dialing in our processes, creating really standardized SOPs, just making us better and giving me the ability to step back and say, let me work more in business development this year instead of being in the weeds day to day. Man, we're just doing really fun things, really exciting things and maintaining that consistency that our clients have just always expected from us.
A couple of last questions here. Did you manage to retain the majority of the old employees and how did they feel about bringing in new people for some of these higher level positions?
Yeah, so I'll give you two stats I'm most proud of. One is no one left in the team, everyone stayed, and then two is we lost no clients year one.
Awesome.
And through a transition that was difficult because the previous owner, he was pretty much the contact for everyone. And so them transitioning to this kid with no experience, that was tough on them. He was a landscape architect. He was brilliant, and he was a very personable guy. Once again, big shoes to fill. Call it out. Don't try and shy away from the parts that you know they're leaning into and thinking about. Just call it out and say, give me a go. I'll be here. I'll prove to you that I'm going to treat you the right way.
Dustin, how can people get in touch with you if they want to ask you some more questions? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so shoot me an email. It's dw@landscapestlewis.com. Shoot me an email. Ask me anything. I'm always happy to help. I think that was the number one thing, by the way, Robert, I did when I got in is found a mentor in this industry and made sure I had someone with industry experience to help guide me through some of the decision making I want to do. Anything I can give back to someone who's curious about the process I went through, or just wants someone, it's lonely at the top, just someone else to talk to, happy to lend my ear, happy to give some advice.
Dustin, really appreciate your time today. Some great advice from everybody. I wish you all the best with your journey, and we'll keep in touch.
Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it, mate.
Okay, thank you. Take care. Cheers.
Cheers.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. I hope you're walking away with some great nuggets that you can immediately apply to your business, whether you're in leadership, operations, or you just want to show up every day with that Ironman mindset. Remember, growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens with intentional moves, bold conversations, and surround yourself with the right people. If you found value today, subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with others. And again, don't forget to check out wilson-360.com. We have digital courses from account management, operational excellence, leadership development, or some of the other coaching packages we offer. Anyway, huge shout out to our sponsors. Thank you very much. And I'll leave with this. Have a pure, dead, brilliant day.